If it doesn't, then oh man. All right, I'm trying to get this thing to work. It's been here forever. Guys, I'm gonna be here about an hour, okay? Trying to see if this thing works, and it's not really. Okay, guys, again, I don't see anybody in there, so I don't know if the feed is going anywhere. I'm trying to see if it's here. Usually it would be here if it was working. Okay, let's see. Seems to be working. All right. This will apply to who it does. I had just finished saying, let's just say it again. I saw some of Dark Kim's response. I didn't really dig into it. I only saw a couple of minutes of his response to King Sun. A lot of that is personal. The way he felt he was using his name and stuff, and I don't know all the details. I don't know also if there are any open disagreements and stuff. I did see a little clip, but I'll tell you this. I had this discussion with King Sun too, that I don't agree with everything and everyone that he's with. I'm going to be more detailed for this though. Anyone that the perspective of what we do, right? We have a lot of older people in this nation. They're not even elders. They just have this knowledge for a long time, and they're completely savage. If I have to tell a grown man with knowledge of self, not 85, a grown man with knowledge of self, to not urinate on the side of a person's home during Parliament, to not get drunk, to not get high and foolish, that's not my damn job. That's not my work. As you know, the ciphers that I build in from this classroom onward, they're not there. That's the duty. That's it. I don't agree with a select amount of gods being the talented 10th and going around policing the others and enforcing the others. People have exiled themselves with the way that they behave. I don't personally, I'm speaking about myself. I don't have time to be telling people that they're savage. That's one disagreement I have though with the perspective that King Sun brings a lot in his thoughts and his videos and whatnot. I don't care for the religiosity, the excessive Bible quoting. I don't care for it. He's very well-meaning though. I don't care for it. I don't agree with it. I don't think that the Bible's something that should ever be quoted as a valid source of anything. The Bible says this, so that's why. No, I don't. Nah. Ezekiel chapter 3 verse 1, chapter 3 verse 18 St. Luke chapter 12, verse 40, those are in the 120. I don't care. Those are for illumination. Those aren't for validation. Scholarship is about validation, really, really proving something. I'm really digging into this 120 study sheet, 1 to 10 study sheet. I'm going to do something for every set. I only did the 1 to 36. I'm doing the 1 to 10 set now, and I'm like, the mentality is the first thing I write on the top. Mentality. Where do we get off, though, that because the Bible says God, that we can quote what it says that's convenient for us, and that's a fucking proof. That's not a proof. A Bible quote would never be a proof. Okay? The Bible says Jesus is black, right? The feet colored copper, right? Revelations chapter 1, verse 14. That's not proof. It's another strong coincidence. It's not proof. Okay? You use it to stymie Christians, confuse them, you know? So I disagree with that type of style of building. I think it's done a little too much. Okay? I think the more important thing, though, is that when King Sun says he represents the nation and he has justifications for Muslim gods, the greatest misnomer, oxymoron, illogical statement, title I've ever heard, that's not this nation. And I don't agree with that concept that it's people that is in the NGE that are separating. Everybody that says NGE is someone that is being religious about how they see it and trying to disavow others that have a disagreement. We are not different factions of the gods and earths because I agree with something and I don't. That's ridiculous. Nation of Gods and Earths is a title that's used because it is a much more simple title. It doesn't confuse when you say Nation of Islam, 5% nation. That has gotten confused with Muslims. Anyone that disagrees with that I just said, that statement right there about there being confusion is not teaching anyone outside of the hood. In the hood, they don't care for that confusion. You can fix it up. Not everybody we're teaching is there. We teach the whole world. We're not Nation of Islam. That's what they do over there. And if you think that it's the same thing because we got the same lessons, the differences in what Allah did in 120, like put father civilization, take out skunk in the wisdom degree in the 1 to 10, those two itself are so major. How about this for major? When you go into Nation of Islam, they teach a mystery God, a physical mystery God that once existed. I don't care what anybody says. Now, one of those people say that you are God right now when you go in there. Don't tell me it's the same thing. Don't tell me that it's the same root, so it's really the same thing, and that originally comes from them. No, the paper says the black man is God. They don't teach what the paper says. So that means that their scholarly pursuits are not in that vein of proving that. And keep it straight up. That's something to know, God. We got roots, Nation of Islam, all that. The Father came through there. But the difference between what we're doing and what they're doing is 1,000 miles difference, and it's only in one fact. They don't say peace God. They don't tell you you're the true and living God. They tell you a black man is the true and living God. Where is he? Who is this man? Right? It's like Superman 2. I feel like Zod. Who is this Superman? Where is this man? Where is he? They don't teach that. If they did, why was the Father going through all that? Muslim gods. Let's talk about it. The same Muslim gods that try to scholarly prove that fard is in everything, inside Buddhist temples, inside this, inside that. I was at these debates with Tahuti, who says the black woman is God, and Wesley Muhammad. Battle of the Fox scholarship, where they overdo references, where they take coincidence and make it fact. Guys, for example, this pyramid says the number 7, that pyramid says the number 7, this pyramid says the number 7, and it's all a holy number. That does not prove that 7 means God. All you found is a coincidence, a connection, a reason for further scholarship. Elijah Muhammad, when he wrote down stuff, it was a reason for further scholarship. We showed and proved certain parts of 120, and Elijah Muhammad earned the right to say other stuff he says, which he does not prove, ought to be challenged and studied to see if there are proofs for it, because he has been consistently and exceptionally consistent. But when you read who is the original black man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner of the queen of planet of the earth, father of civilization, and God of the universe, that does not prove anything. If I quote that, that does not prove that the black man is God. The statement has been brought forth, and now the possibilities of its proof are now to be done because it exists. This concept exists. That's why 120 is important. The concept exists. No one can try to prove something that they never thought was a possibility. It's real simple. I'm being very clear because I don't like when someone disagrees with something and then they say it's NGE people. Because now when they have disagree with me, they can say I'm NGE. No, I'm the one that's here. I'm the one that's live from Mecca. I'm here. I'm the one that you meet here. Don't break this off into different factions of nation, because I'm the one that's here. I'm the nation here. This is why it's important, God, when you come in here. Value what you do here. When there was nothing doing here, I would leave. Or I would take out my books and start writing. All the elders know this. This is a school. When you come in here, get ready to do school work. School work is done here. When you come in here, you're ready to do work. Nobody's here to build with. Take out some books and start reading, start writing. This is a school. People want to come here and they're not ready to do any school work. This is not the YMCA. Not when class is in session here. We don't just toss out the basketballs and let them shoot. This isn't free play. None of that. And we know Sunez, I'm like this everywhere. I'm like this with my kids, my third graders, my fourth graders, my fifth graders, my high schoolers. We're in a school, we do schoolwork. There is no such thing as a Muslim God. The word Muslim, when people use it etymologically and say it means a man of peace, You're being clever because no one cares what it etymologically means, because Elijah Muhammad changed the definition. The definition means one who submits to the will of Allah, who came in the person of Master Fard Muhammad. Okay? When this happened, peace to King Me, when this happened, that is the definition now. If you're coming through the Nation of Islam, if you're coming with that nation, Muslim God stuff, the definition of Muslim is one who submits. I don't care what anyone says. Being you is not submission. Being you is not submission. If you say, well, no, we're 85%. I'm going to say it. Look, if we were 85% and we got knowledge, right? 85, right? You come and get knowledge. So did you submit to that? No. No, you did not. No, you did not submit to that. When you was 85 doing 85 wrong and incorrect things, that's what you were submitting to. To then get knowledge of self, don't get it twisted. It's not submission and give up to anything. It's a fight. Please don't take away your fight. You get the knowledge of self. You fought through the 85 propaganda, the 85 lifestyle, the 85 ease of just, being regular person. Go to church a little bit, do Christmas the way everybody else does Christmas, have fun. 85. To get knowledge of self and realize who you truly always were, you have to fight for that. You have to fight through the veils of lies. That's not submission. You took your throne. I'm putting in different language here. Where is the submission in that? It's the weakness that submits, something that becomes lesser that submits. Don't tell me that I submitted to a knowledge of self. I fought for that every day. Every day. Every day we fight for that. Every day you fight for that, God. Every day. Because there's easier ways to live outside that deal with this. All the time. So you don't go, I submitted to the no. You choose this every single second. We are completely aware. And so I disagree with that justification of the Muslim God. And then people that they align themselves with who have doctored this nation's history. I don't respect them as scholars. You mean the same Muslim gods? I'm not even naming names. Who said, not to me, to somebody else. Because, well, they'd be in trouble to say that to me. And said, we're the ambulance. We're the ambulance, though. We take care of the people in the street. We're the ambulance. And when we get to the when they need real medical care, they go to the Nation of Islam. That's like the hospital. This is who I gotta align with. People that want to tell me that I submit to shit. I bowed down to the knowledge. The guy that got it didn't bow down to the knowledge. That's peace, Julie. I speak very calculated, so I don't know. Look at my daughter. Oh, my daughter's on her mom's pay. How are you doing, Oogie? Peace, Oogie. My alma. How are you? You caught Papi in a very fiery moment here. I just, we're trying to fix things, and everybody wants to be a reformer. I'm glad that you're good. That makes me feel wonderful. That makes me feel better. I don't feel good if you don't feel good. you know? And I have something special next Friday when I pick you up. Okay? We're going to do something special. I'm going to pick you up. Okay? I love you too. I'm going to pick you up from school on Friday. And we're going to do something special. Okay? All right? Because I'm off that day. But it's going to be great. All right? But guys, there's a lot of things to fix, you know what I mean? And I don't have time to stop a guy from peeing. You got knowledge of self, and we're in a parliament at a school. Parliament's at a different school, but it's a school. When I go into any school, I get ready for work. Across the street from the school are homes, people's homes. We're civilized, right, God? Do we have to be told to not pee on someone's house or steps? When we could just go in, the parliament is free. We could just go in, use the bathroom. It's a nice bathroom, school bathroom. Trust me, because I've been in other schools and they got worse bathrooms. Okay? I'm not here to teach people with knowledge of self how to be civilized. We get civilization, righteousness, plus the knowledge of self. I got to go rewind from someone here and rewind and teach them civilization? Teach them righteous ways? We're not doing that. Something I don't have to teach my baby girl to do? We're not here for that. And everybody makes their legacy of how they could change everybody. Want to be the leader, want to be the best known. I'm like, yo, that is wasteful. That is wasteful. Find out what you know how to do. Come here and do it. Come here and share it. School is for two things. It is to learn or it is to share. Come here and do one or the other. Peace to 793. 793. That's right, Alma. Even my baby understands. We teach the babies, the youth, the young people. A teacher offers forums. He wants to write, I can offer the forum of a place to be published. Show them how to be published. They want to learn to train and get healthy. I teach them how to get healthy. We train. We offer a forum for them to get healthy, what foods to eat, how to eat them, fix their diet, and then they go do it. Learn how to fight, defend themselves. We augment and we find other spaces because this is not the greatest space for that. At least for me, for when I teach. But I gotta go around telling people not to be savage. Then when people disagree, we're gonna stratify and do that again and again. People want to argue about me. They can't argue about refinement with me. They can't argue about freedom and culture. They can't argue about none of this stuff. They can't do it with their usual disrespectful ways. They can't do it with any logical ways. But they sure can do it respectfully. And we can debate. Because this is a school. A place of higher thought. A place of challenge. Julie, you said when I became righteous at the age of 18 years old, I was put in the hot seat all the time because people did it out of love. Absolutely. But you were 18. What we look like putting guys that are older than me in the hot seat because they urinated on a building. If you can't even go inside the Parliament building, you're not part of this though. And if the only way you can build is that way, it's not. It's not a build. You know? But what I'm saying is that we need to be a nation that brings things for the youth. This is what I see. What do we know how to do? Right? This is what we need to do. Okay. Anybody have any big questions about anything? I am at the beginning of making the 1 to 10 study sheet. It's a lot of things I want to put into it. And then I want to look through and say, what do I not want to put into it? I don't want to put everything, you know? I want to get the ball rolling, but I want to put necessary things, right? Why Allah put reminders, notes of why that Allah took out certain things, added certain things, like I mentioned, Father Civilization. What else? The skunk, I took that out, you know, right? Because it's a student enrollment, the value, how we should see the whole 1 to 10 very as a set, because it's very important to me. That's very important to me, how we see it all as a set. Then how you see each, what's the theme, how do we see it, and share with you all my understanding, and then you can take that and run with it. Help develop yours and develop your questions. That's what I care about, is the questions. Okay? All right. All right. So, guys, I'm going to be here about an hour more, about a half hour more. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. But I'm working on that. I'm going to rewrite the the Power Cipher beginner book list. Okay. I'm going to do that again as well, because I like making the list where every single book on the list I can provide. I'm going to take the really important books that I cannot provide and put them as additional bonus books. There's one I have on the list that I don't even have anymore because I lent it to someone. They never gave it back. And honestly, I don't even remember what student I lent it to. It was years ago. Who I think it was is like an assumption because I don't remember. King, you said in the born degree of the 1 to 14, why can't the devil reveal the secret that he gave him a chance to clean himself up and come amongst us? Why is that a secret? That's a really good question. I think a lot of the 1 to 14 is upholding this concept that the devil has a mission, has an ultimate 6,000-year goal, and none of it can be revealed. And this is not lessons, this is not instructions for us, the gods. These are the instructions historically that happened, right? So we go, why was that a secret? Because they had a duty. They had a duty, right? And to reveal what they were doing, the devil was doing, would hamper their 6,000 year rule. So the tone and the insinuation in 120 lessons is that it's vitally important that this 6,000 year rule happens. I hope that answers some of the question, And guys, like, this is not related, but by the time I get to class here, this has happened for over 25 years, right? There are many weeks where I'm just so tired. If you watch the films from the last two sessions, I'm beat. I'm done. I'm even closing my eyes while I'm talking. This has happened to me many times over the 25 years. Um, but I want it to be a reminder that whenever we're really building, we don't just quit and build less. We try to find ways to be more effective, you know? I have more energy today, not because I had a lesser week. This week was kind of crazy, right? As crazy as the last two. But I worked harder on the quality of the sleep. I worked harder on the way that I regenerate. The days that I'm working, the hours that I'm working at home before I go to the schools that I go to. Um, I worked hard on planning select naps, rejuvenating, little things, right? When I have my one of my moments to relax during the day is always when I eat a meal. I did one thing this last week. I consciously ate a lot slower. I usually eat slow. It takes me a long time. But I said, I'm going to eat even slower. I got more chewing. I literally just chewed more, everything. Gave me more energy, you know? Was more mindful. I drink my juices, kombuchas, teas slower, more mindful, like really, really tasting it. Changed everything. Now I'm here with more energy, even though the training this week, the work with the children, um, a lot. The travel, people don't know, man. Like, just travel alone, because I don't do, as far as my cardio, I really keep it to burpees, a lot of kung fu, right? Um, I haven't been running miles in a long time. Just walking. I walk at least, just traveling throughout the city, the boroughs. I walk at least, probably average 4 miles a day walking, you know, 6,000 to 10,000 steps, you know what I mean? Depending on the day, you know? And yeah, I learned the hard way not to lend out books, right, Julia? The, you just want people to really know what you know, and they really, you think they have the same exuberance as you, and they don't really read, and they don't put care into it, so they lose the book. But now I share books digitally, so I never lose it, you know? Just, maybe you'll lose the digital copy I gave you, but I didn't lose mine, you know? And so if there's any book that anybody wants, when I give out this new 50 Power Cipher beginner book list, and it's broken down into categories too. So all the 50 books, though, at the end has like the groupings of subject and which numbers go with which subject. So it's really broken down, you know? Yeah, yeah. I was really, really, really conscious about it because I fast at least 2 days a week, right? And when I eat a lot of food. I'm not the I'm not tall, and I'm not super huge, but I eat a lot of food. You know what I mean? And and so I use a lot of energy as well. So making sure, yeah. So, you know, By the way, for the walking and stuff, walking is really good for you. I don't find walking to be a good exercise by itself. If you lift weights and really train, walking is like a really great add-on. It cuts you up a little bit more without losing the muscle structure. It's really great, you know.
Well, you can
say again. No, I don't.
I'm saying that you can run and jog so much.
Yeah, you could do that too.
Peace on my day.
Peace. Freedom, justice.
Yes, sir.
Sunez Allah.
Peace.
Likewise.
Peace.
Class is beginning. We're in the last half now, you know.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, that's peace. You know, right? King Me, you said. By the way, G1, I agree with everything you said. You know what I mean? That's why I have more energy. I love it. And just the quality of sleep. I really work on the sleep, and I think I work on the sleep harder now because I am a Mets fan. So I'm trying to make sure I don't just keep watching the game. You know, I really will go to bed. You know, and I'm glad I went to bed early last night because them Knicks would have pissed me off.
Oh man, that's still emotional.
I went to bed at the end of the third quarter because I go to bed at 10 o'clock. Boom. So I was like, nah, I can't do it. And I'm glad I didn't because I'd have had a headache today and be mad. Now I'm just mad, but now.
Right. Of course.
Right. Yo, that's peace, jeweler. That is peace. King Me, you said sometimes it seems like the Muslims are more structured than God, so I think that's why people hold on to the Muslim part. Being God is not an easy thing. Yeah, I agree absolutely. But to me, what is the point of structure if it is given to you? The whole point of being a true and living God is that you have the strength to make your own structure. God, because this is from a thing I'm saying I never have agreed. I have disagreed with the scholarship that comes from them 100% with anyone calling themselves Muslim gods. Okay? They use justifications that say that they are Muslim means man of peace, like etymologically, like the history of the word.
Right.
That's what etymology is, the history of the word, where it comes from, how it was made up. And it's all very clever. But if you're, it is, and I'll tell you why. When it comes out of the Nation of Islam, it doesn't matter what the etymology was. It matters what Elijah Muhammad said a Muslim was, not what etymologically it means, because none of them was being taught that. The word Muslim, the way Elijah taught it, was one who submits to the will of Allah, who came in the person of Master Muhammad. So then they say, listen, God, the ones that are dealing with Muslim gods and this and that, we do submit to this knowledge. No, we don't submit to this. Brother, I'm going to get your story in a minute, because everybody that comes to my classroom, I offer my story. But I want to get your story because that's more important. But I didn't get this knowledge by submitting. We were submitting to being ignorant to the knowledge of self, being put in a weaker state of ignorance, and doing all this 85 stuff our whole lives until we got knowledge. The way any of us got knowledge. And unless you tell me a different story, because every brother that really gets this knowledge had to fight for it. They had to fight for it and choose it and say, damn it, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing this. I'm doing that. And I'm definitely doing a lot of this. And almost everything that we did to get this knowledge went against people. I went against family members that got mad that I was reading more books. Got mad that I only cared about studying. Didn't care about holidays. You know what I'm saying? All of these kind of things. There's no submission in that. I did not give myself up to somebody. We willingly chose this. We fought to get in here and we chose it. Don't let anybody tell you that you submitted to this stuff. You know what I mean? That's ridiculous. It's a ridiculous concept. And a Muslim submits to the will of Allah. No. We are Allah himself. How are we a Muslim God? That's an oxymoron now. And when they tell you, like, oh, look, that's originally from the Nation of Islam, this and that. Listen, it's wonderful. It's wonderful people in there, all of that. But they don't teach that the black man is God, and it's written in paper. So when we say, listen, I tell you, when you get 120, Just because you quote it doesn't prove it. If I said the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, cream of planet Earth, father of civilization, and God of the universe, I didn't prove it to you. And that's what we don't understand. Just like if they had it in their paper and they read it, they didn't say it was anybody. They said the black man is God. To them, that was being taught that someone ideal and perfected in the future would come. And for them, they're still waiting for Fard to come back and introduce that perfected one. No, we're not doing that. So when they make like what the father did was like a light, little tiny thing.
Mhm.
It's the same Nation of Islam stuff, but he just added this extra thing. It's not a little extra thing. You know what I mean?
That's a pretty big change.
It's like if we had a whole restaurant that served thousands of dishes, right? And then I made a restaurant that served 1,000 of dishes. But my restaurant eliminated one dish. Well, that's swine. My restaurant is different.
Mhm.
My shit is the one.
Mhm.
That other shit is some pork spot with a lot of different choices. Mine's is the shit. You know what I mean? And really, mine's will eliminate a lot because I've been vegan for 30 years. But the point being, right? You take out that swine, we got different restaurants. The father took it the next level. Gotta respect that. And if you're saying that you come in the name of Allah and that you're repping the gods and stuff, and you're like, oh, but I'm down with the Muslim God. The Muslim God, the same ones that wrote books like Wakil, I name names because I told these people. Every name I'm saying, I told them to their face. I asked, you need to put a biography, a glossary at the end. Because you're quoting a lot of people and they disagree with each other, but a lot of terms that people don't know. There might be slang, there might be this, there might be our nation's dialect. He said, "No, but it don't matter because I wrote these books to teach the nation the history." I said, teach the nation. No. When we learn, we go to our elders to learn. We don't go to a book.
Nah, we go.
And God, you don't know me, but I said that, and I've written more books than he written. You get what I'm saying? And I still say you don't go to a book to learn this. He said that to me while Firstborn Princess was alive. Okay? He said that to me while Umala was alive, while Freedom Allah, right? Papa Wu was alive. All these others I'm with. Infinite Al Jamal, Wise Jamel. We need your book to tell me. But you didn't do nothing in these streets. I don't know what you writing.
So
we
had to do write a book about ourselves.
What a wonderful idea. Every student in my classroom, I'm telling them to have a journal of their own lives. Write down your life. Nobody's living it. Nobody's living what you lived.
And it's my journal. Small one. So
Write your life. Write your life. No one else is going to live it. And if you're saying you're the true and living God, it can't be a more worthy life to write down. Your life is important.
I mean, it's not
I
that
do
many of
listen
us
to
that
music,
ever see
play
that.
sports, do workouts. Every day.
Excellent point. You know what I mean?
I do boxing. I love that for my one.
Write that in there. Keep doing it.
Do
The
what you-
point-
do what you do.
The reasons why I have students have their own journals that I don't read. I don't want to read it. Is because you need to have a respect and a reverence for your own life. You have to have a place where you jot down all your ideas and what you're studying and what you're taking in. We do the knowledge to so many things. We need we need moments of time to say, what is all the stuff I'm absorbing? You know what I mean? And sometimes that's a good way of retrospection, right? And at the same time, we need to learn also how to say, I want to do this. And write that on paper.
Mhm.
Or just put a story. Everybody got stories to tell.
Infinite.
How the artists they did, write their lyrics down, tell their stories.
Of course.
That's how they did. NBAs did that. All the people.
Now remember though, because Remember, I'm a journalist, right?
Oh, yeah, I know you're
We
joking.
write down the stories of others, though. But I'm talking about the stories of you is important. Okay?
And of course, if that story affects your life, then you can talk about it. But it still has to be your direct,
Your direct experience.
from your inner
And
self.
look,
Yeah.
word is bond and bond is life, and I should give my life before my words shall fail, right? When you write down what you're doing, you also start to write down what you want to do. And in that journal, you can start to practice keeping your word bond. What do you want to do? Write it down. Practice keeping your word as bond. There's a lot of great people that keep their word as bond to other people. I've been with them. They're great people, but they have difficulty keeping their word as bond to themselves. See? When you don't eat pork, when you eat the right foods, when you go beyond, above and beyond, you're being right and exact to yourself and you're keeping your word as bond. No matter what we say, God, we can't really test you to see if you don't eat that.
What would you call what you were saying about helping others doing the wisdom before the knowledge? Or is that the correct order of applying wisdom with knowledge?
Here's the tricky part, right?
I go around with that.
No, I love it. I love it. Here's the tricky part, right? Wisdom knowledge is also your universe. We are forced to physically live in this universe that's already been in motion, so we have to act before we have done the knowledge to everything. It's not like we go worldwide, do the knowledge to everything, be satisfied somehow, and then say, okay, now it's time to act. We don't have that opportunity. You know what I'm saying? So it's always a go as you learn and going back to going forward. It's a cipher of development. You know, it goes back and forth, and it's a cipher of development of depth. You know, I've always taught one thing that is a theme of what I teach, and I say I teach perfection, right? And it is not that something is perfect, right? If things are perfect, they are already finished, right? Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On" album, right? Raekwon's Cuban Links, those are perfect. You ain't got to do nothing to them. You can't do anything to them. They're already finished, right? Can't do anything to it.
Oh no, everybody Kim song, every vice president paying for.
Right, paid in full. Can't do anything to it. It's perfect. But the true and living God is ever living. So he is in a state of perfection, of constant elevation at an ever increasing rate. But the rate is not linear, it's circular. It goes back, it goes forth, and it gets deeper in depth. It is infinite in its depth, not in its linear aspect. You know? And when you start writing in your journal about your life, you start doing stuff like that. It's also good to know what it was like when you were 85.
Never forget where you came from.
Right, exactly. You know? Because it helps you be a better teacher, better share.
And you're around older guys since you were like wisdom is older. That's what they know you.
Absolutely. Let me read some of these comments. So Muslims are 2,896. Okay. We got the extra. We don't supply. We apply. I see it. 7930. You said always appreciate time, experience, ways put into motion, activation through clear, concise examples, walking away, winning it. That's peace, God. King, you said I accept wise who they praying to. They said Master. Yeah, I also don't go with the thing where people say that they pray. I don't bear witness. We don't pray. We don't pray.
No,
Okay.
You don't.
If people say prayer is like meditation, they're mystifying. They're mystifying meditation. Okay.
Or yoga.
If you ever do meditation is about letting go of thought, not adding on to thought. Prayer is a desirous thought. When you meditate, you're supposed to let go. That's almost impossible
You
to
gotta
do.
use candles.
But it's that. No, you don't need no candles.
No, I'm sorry.
You know,
Candles make you
look.
fall asleep.
The easiest way to meditate is to sit just as I'm sitting here, with your hands on your knees, and just breathe in a set way. Usually a complete breath, right? And you're letting go. Whatever thoughts come, you take no precedence upon it. The point is that you can't get rid of your thought.
All the
So
nightmares.
you practice to let it go, right? You practice to let it go. That's the exercise. Prayer is not that, you know? If people say that they were using their mental energies to will certain things happen, I I would say that you're wasting your time because you could probably use your mental energies and apply them physically to actually do something to get that done. So it's all cop outs, man. I will never agree with that, you know. But the thing is, some brothers that are in this nation want to align themselves with Muslim gods. I can't tell people what to do. I can tell you that I disagree with that concept 1,000%, and I will tell anyone that it is a wrong and incorrect concept. It'll never be correct, no matter how clever you do it. And people fall into their own trap because to prove it, I keep hearing people quote Bible to me. Quoting the Bible does not prove anything. You associate yourself as God. So when you quote a text that says words that refer to what God was doing, you're falsely conflating. You're merging the two. You did not prove anything. So it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Bible says, ye are gods, be ye shall die like men. That's something quote for insight, to analyze maybe. Right? But that doesn't prove anything. They didn't prove that the black man is God in there. When you quote 120, you did not prove the black man is God. You were presented with an idea that is almost never spoken. That's why it's powerful. And the more you study the idea, because it's a scientific excursion that you were in the middle of, because you're the original man. Right. You're in the middle of the science. You're inside the science experiment. Mm-hmm. So what happens is that when you start quoting that, you start embedding yourself with that reality. And then you start to see things in a different way.
Right? You live reality. So, Tom, you don't live in a peaceful world. You live in a dangerous world.
But that's why we started saying keep it real. You know, all that with reality. That came from the gods.
Right.
I know that.
Now it's the God asked me here, how do I see the mothership? You know, I was always told the father said the mother's hip. You know what I mean? Is the mothership. All that mothership stuff. Listen, I don't go with the aliens, none of that stuff. People go, oh, look, the white man says he saw aliens and stuff. If they're from the future and they're all that and they were able to go through wormholes and get something that got them out of their atmosphere and go light years away, and they got seen by the white man, I don't respect it. You know what I mean?
How they see them and they see us.
You got flagged by them. You don't have no stealth. You don't have, you know what I mean? If you did any study of this planet, though, you would know that they were the enemy. You got seen by them. I just can't, you know what I mean?
And they would have been intelligent enough to know that they were not the first people standing up talking about.
I mean, you know,
we're here. We're the leaders.
So it's like, yo, if those are the aliens that came, I don't want to meet them. You know what I mean? Like,
in theory, you can't make sense of it.
You know, and like I said, it's not been shown and proven. So there's nothing to say about that. You know. You know, when people go, look, I saw it though. I saw this, that. You know what I mean? No matter what you saw. You know what I mean? We're humans, though. We don't even have close to superior eyesight. There are birds with better eyesight than us. Don't act like you saw stuff. You know? Like what you saw is an absolute truth. You know? I was dealing with a woman and she was like, yeah, but I saw the ghost or whatever like that. I said, I'll see you later. You know what I mean? I don't care what you saw. You know what I mean? Listen, what I learned all the years studying martial arts, right? You actually something could happen to you that you don't see. And you learn that the first punch you get hit, and you're like, where did that come from? I didn't see that coming. What you see don't mean nothing. What you see don't mean nothing. You know? You don't see everything. You know what I mean? That's a terrible judgment.
Most times, the person right behind, the word person behind you don't see them coming.
That too, man. I just don't see every direction.
You know, most times you have to play chess.
That's P.E.A.C.E 793rd. That's peace. Mm-hmm. You know, I did grind out the last class. The last degree, the 39th degree says I fast and pray to Allah, and I'm like, so what? We say we fast, but we don't fast. We build. You know what I mean? You know what our prayer is? You know what a prayer is? A prayer becomes a repeated mantra for something that's expected. That's the word is bond. I expect to do this. You know what I mean?
You just reinforcing.
You have a mantra to yourself.
That's right.
Yeah. The 120 lesson is Muslim teachings that become our lessons. We do not believe 120. And there's a lot of trolls out there that love to quote me and say, he doesn't believe 120. Yeah, you're damn right. I didn't show and prove 120, but I believe in it. When we read a history book, we don't believe it. We expect this man, this author, to have references, to have the actual field research with the people in question if they're still alive. You know what I mean? Right?
Unless, of course, it's their own story, but that's not usually what books are.
Right. You know, if it's autobiography, we take it as it is, right? We take it as insights. You know what I mean? Right? You know, we can't take it like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know. But as far as history, that's how we got to go. That's how we're going to go. But that's all I have to say about that. That's pretty much today's class. I'm still working on a 1 to 10 sheet from my brother here. There's a lot of plus lessons I give. There's a lot of things I give. I'll give you my email. I'm here every Thursday. I've been teaching here since 2000. Okay? This is the longest running class in the history of this building. Okay? And say that to fortify that you can expect to see me here next week. If you come, it is your choice, though. God, how long have you had knowledge?
I started in the year born God, 1997. I actually came to the school in 96. At the time, I was living in Greensboro.
Okay.
A lot of guys down there, but they weren't walking in, talking in, you know.
Understood.
You know the time we were in. It was inspiration and influence from some of us who went the entertainment music route, and those brothers that I was with were living out what those guys talked about, and yet they weren't living this out.
Gotcha.
Because that is actually how I came in contact with them through music. And from that, I said, you know what, I need to go to the source. I know where the school is. It's, you know, it's in Harlem, it's in Mecca. Let me go. So I came here. I met Prince Allah, who we spoke of. At the time, he was still walking a little bit, but then when I would come again, he was in the wheelchair.
Right.
The rest we know. So he told me, he said, Father Allah. And I said, okay. Because I told him my government is Franklin Jefferson. And I said, well, when I looked in the dictionary, it said Franklin defined as a free man or a freeman. You know, someone walking with the knowledge of themselves. It's in so many words. I'm not quoting it. But I said, yeah, I like that. And yeah, of course, the letters match. It just worked out that way. I went around the entire alphabet. I went around everything in the lessons. But then when the guy said, Father Allah, speak to yourself about what you need to do in terms of your name and who you want to be. So I did that. And of course, me being who I still was, I'm in the world, I'm out there, 85, all the way out. And I decided I'm going to make a lot of changes. But it's going to be hard. I got to work with my family, who are 85 Christian family. You know, they from Harlem mostly. So they seen, you know, they know about the gods and earth, they know about the nation, they know the history, but they don't believe because of the discrepancies with some of our brothers that went the street route. And yet, what they were teaching was right. It's just, I want to see you live it all the way out. That's my family's argument to this day. So I said, well, then I'll be the living embodiment of the example you need to see. If I'm the only one you ever see, then that's the only example you need to see, because you only need to make knowledge born once.
That's right.
For it to be real. So that's where I come from. I come from being able to speak it because I was always so impressed by how those guys who I used to roll with, they had such a vernacular.
Indeed.
I listen to these brothers and I'm like, I love hearing y'all build because it's like a song to me. It's music to my ears. Absolutely. And it speaks to my heart because y'all are speaking truth. You're speaking from your own experience. You can quote, that is what our lessons are there for. It's a qualifier mostly for me. But it's also just the beginning, as you said. It's not the whole story. So that's how I've always been: freedom, justice, and Allah. The freedom is just not to be limited by what it is that I'm dealing with. I'm grounded, I'm focused. The justice part is one's reward or penalty, of course. And I want to apply that. I want to reward myself and also be able to teach that. But if I don't do it right, then I'm penalized. I'm penalized. Not you, but me, because I didn't give it to you right. If I'm talking in terms of like my children, for example, they're my embodiment, reincarnated, more or less. So I want to do it right for them. I want to do it right for my wife. We've been together for 18 years. I'm going to shock you. No one ever likes this part of the story. She's with the nation. So that's always been a
You mean
challenge,
Nation Islam?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Active to this day. So we are some kind of unicorn in both of our nations. Proud of self. But I'm steadfast. I don't come around as much as I need to. You know, I don't come around as much. But I remember Alabi, who many years ago would tell me this, that your work is out there anyway.
That's right.
You know, you come here to refuel, but if you don't, you're self-sustaining. You know, you're not a machine. You know, we use these kind of symbolic words and phrases to describe what we got to do. But you can just go out there and teach God, and if you never came back, as long as you were doing your duty, then you were doing our work, all of us collectively. So I lost pork early. That was easy because I was never really a pork eater. I lost chicken, turkey, bottom feeders.
Good.
I was a pescatarian for a while, and then I went vegan, and I couldn't stay with it because I was still poor and financially poor and couldn't afford to keep up. But I drank a lot of water. I was always in shape, rode my bike, did a lot of walking, and my short story in this capacity, just reading my lessons, going to parliaments. I haven't been to a show and prove since I came with my wife because of some earths that said some things that weren't peace. And my wife never got over that. You know, that was unfortunately a reflection of our nation to her. That was her, not her first, but her first, I guess you could say, in that time or in this time that we're in, her time of interacting with our sister.
Right.
And it wasn't good. And I know those kind of things, if you're a civilized person, you're supposed to elevate past your emotion and things like that. But that was that. And I said, but I'm going to go back because that's where I come from in terms of why I met you. I met you and you were attracted to me because I had knowledge of self. So let's not discount what the gods gave me, because if it wasn't for that, I'd have just been some 85 brother that came up, what's up, what's good with you, and it wouldn't have been peace. So that's mostly, I kind of skipped around a little bit, God.
No, that's peace. I appreciate that. Well, look,
I don't want to hold time.
this session is over, but take my email because I have a lot of materials. If you ever want to build, I have a huge book collection. I offer it to people, whatever they need. I have a lot of stuff. Sunez is my name. Sunez Allah. Sunez97@gmail.com is my email. Sunez97@gmail.com. Okay.
Comes right up.
Okay. Oh, meantime, but I can't do it.
You just put my name in.
All right, guys. I'm gonna let everybody go. Peace to God. Chad, Kasim, peace, God. Let's build.
I'm gonna put my math in here as well. So you text me anything else.
Next.